Hello, this is Levi Wampler with MMAStrikingCoach.com. Today we're speaking with Doug. I'm sorry, say your last name for me?
Balzarini.
Balzarini. I didn't want to mess that up for you. He's a certified strength and conditioning specialist, an ACE personal trainer, and a TRX system instructor. How are you doing today, Doug?
I'm doing great. How are you, Levi?
Doing pretty good.
Good.
Can you tell us a little bit about how you got started in fitness?
Absolutely, yeah. I've been in fitness really my whole life. Grew up on the East Coast in Boston, which is a pretty big sports town. So I was just surrounded by sports and being healthy and active really my whole life, and got into some coaching, and just initially coaching kids and stuff like that. So I was always leading a healthy lifestyle, and I wanted that to always be a part of my life. So when I went off to college, my degree was in exercise science, exercise physiology there. And so really to answer the question, I've been involved with it, since I could kick a ball, really. And it's always just been a part of my life. I love helping people, and up until recently, started coaching more with the MMA athletes and with the sport that's just taken off. I'm really enjoying the MMA side of things now. So.
And you're an MMA strength coach, right?
I am. Yeah, I am. Certified through an organization, NESTA, through their conditioning certification as well. I've been training MMA athletes for about 4 years now, and just been blessed with the ability to work with some pretty high profile athletes in that realm. So it's been great.
Cool. Are there any names that you could name?
Absolutely, of course. Currently, I'm working with a number of UFC guys, the bantamweight champ in the UFC, Dominic Cruz, who recently found out who his next opponent is going to be, and I'm really looking forward to the trilogy with Uriah, probably sometime early 2012. I'm also working with Phil Davis, who is a light heavyweight in the UFC. He's probably one, maybe 2 fights away from a title shot, so real excited to be working with him. And then a number of other guys in the UFC that a casual fan may know. Brandon Vera, a long-time fighter there in that organization. Travis Brown, who's an undefeated heavyweight. And then a couple of international guys that come over here to the States through their camps now, Ross Pearson and Alexander Gustafsson. So, and a number of amateur guys and lesser known names, but those are the big names if I can name drop a bit.
That's fine. Go ahead. That's a pretty good list there.
Yeah. They're some of the hardest working people I've ever had the honor of working with. So they're a lot of fun.
Now, what do you think is important for MMA fighters to remember when they're working on their strength training?
Great question, and I think that strength and conditioning is really something that, it's been around for years and stuff, and I want to say it's kind of new to the MMA world. When I first started, even 4 years ago, some of these guys weren't really doing much strength and conditioning at all. If it was anything, it was more the conditioning, not really the strength side. They were doing their conditioning work, their sprint work, that sort of thing to help, with their cardio. But the conditioning, or the strength side rather, wasn't a huge part of their weekly routine. So to answer the question, what's important, I think getting it started is one thing. And then as far as what they're doing, injury prevention, whenever I'm asked about strength, what my role is, my number one answer is always injury prevention. These guys, you've got a background in it. They're training, especially these MMA guys, are training 6 days a week, and there's so many different disciplines now, from the couple of, the stand-up game and the ground game. There's wrestling, jiu-jitsu, and stand-up, there's Muay Thai, there's kickboxing, there's boxing. So they're training all these different things 6 days a week, a couple times a day. So where do you fit in strength and conditioning, and what am I doing with them? And so again, injury prevention, working on imbalances that they're creating with all this training that they're doing, working on some weak areas. Do a lot of joint integrity work, for the shoulders and the hips and the ankles. I'm just got to be careful about overtraining because, I just touched on how much training they're doing. And at the end of the day, I've always said this, as a strength coach, I'm just a piece of the puzzle. Especially with these higher end athletes, they're going to have, 4 or 5 coaches, some of them. They have their ground coach, they have their jiu-jitsu coach. So I'm just a piece of the puzzle, and I'm just working on what I know, and that's to get them as strong as possible for their weight class, you know, and as efficient as possible, injury-free, and not have them gas out, so they have plenty of gas in the tank.
Could you tell us a little bit, you mentioned joint integrity training. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, really what I mean by that is just getting, you know, it's just a lot of the ground game in jiu-jitsu especially is, you know, is a sport of joint locks and submissions and things. So I want their joints, and there's a few in particular that I'll touch on, that to be as mobile as possible but as strong as possible. Shoulders, I mentioned, is a huge one, especially, well, really for anything. It from the ground game for different sorts of submission moves, and then for boxers, kickboxers, if they're striking, those shoulders get a lot of wear and tear. So I'm out the guys are always complaining or nagging injuries. The rotator cuff is sore, their labrum's torn or something like that. So just simple exercises that aren't flashy and exciting, but just getting some external rotation work in with tubing and things like that. It's more kind of like, I like to call it prehabilitation. So being proactive and getting those joints stronger ahead of time, so when they go out into the octagon or the ring or the tournament or whatever they have coming up, they're going to be ready to go. So that's one of them, and it goes all the way down the line from the hips and the glutes, just to get those glutes active, have the hips mobile. Same with down to the ankle and the feet. I mean, they're up on the balls of their feet all the time, so their ankles tend to be tight, their calves are really tight and overactive. So foam rolling, things like that to kind of help loosen those areas up, and some mobility work for the ankles to get them proper range of motion. So those are some of the things I'm referring to.
It's pretty interesting. Now, you say you have a lot of people coming to you for that have done some fights, and they're just coming in to get more training. What do you think some of the mistakes people are making with their own strength and conditioning training?
I think the biggest thing I see with some of the new guys and even some coaches out there, and I still do it from time to time, and is there's a lot of, and I see it especially a lot on like YouTube clips and things like that, but there's a lot of mimicking of like sport-specific movements, meaning, you know, I don't think there's anything wrong with maybe some real light dumbbells or some tubing if you're just going to go out and warm up and throw some combinations just to get, you know, the shoulders warm and get you loose. But I'll see people out there with, you know, 10, 15-pound dumbbells trying to, you know, throwing punches. And at the end of the day, I think they're doing a lot more harm than good. So that's something I see a lot. And the main reason is, well, people, you know, someone may say, well, if they're doing heavier weights, then they're going to drop those weights and the hands are going to be that much quicker. And at the end of the day, I don't know what they're going to be. I mean, you're changing your movement pattern when you've got those heavy weights. So there's a neurological thing going on. There's muscle memory that you're changing. You want to be able to throw your combinations almost without even thinking about it. And if you're adding 10-pound dumbbells in the hands, then your muscle memory is changing. And you're relearning a pattern and you're learning it improperly. So I think that's probably the biggest thing that I see. Absolutely. Another mistake is maybe overtraining. You know, there's and I admit that it's my favorite part of training is these hardcore, pardon my expression, kick-ass circuits that, you know, set up 5-minute rounds and you've got tire flips and sled drags and get every piece of equipment you can and throw it at them. And I mean, they're a lot of fun that they get the guys definitely kick their butt, but and I think they have a place. Absolutely, they're, like I said, they're my favorite, and we do them. But I don't think they need to be doing them, you know, three days a week. I think it's overkill. So to answer the question, I would say those mimicking of the sport-specific movements you need to be careful of, and just overtraining is something to definitely be wary of.
Mm-hmm. I'm not gonna tell you, years ago I was one of those guys you're talking about with the heavy dumbbells. I probably saw it in a Rocky movie and thought it looked awesome.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it looks cool. Absolutely.
Now, so you're a TRX trainer. Could you tell us a little bit about the TRX and why we should use it?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's something that I've used for years and years. From, you know, I in addition to the MMA athlete, I train the everyday clientele, and, you know, I train 12-year-old figure skater. I've got a number of busy business executives, and I use the TRX with everyone. So in a word, when people ask me why I like it, that is why it's versatile, because you can really use it with everybody. It's very adaptable depending on what the client is and what their goals are. So, I've used it really since I've been training, and since it came out, a number of years ago. And it was through TRX that I made my first connection with MMA. Brandon Vera was my actual very first MMA athlete that I worked with, and he has a relationship with TRX, so that's kind of how we got connected. But a couple of reasons why I love to use it is because really, if you look at other things out there, the machines and things, I'm not a big machine guy. I like these guys, especially in the MMA world, to be standing up if possible to train, because, when you go in the octagon, or the ring, or what have you, you're standing up, right? Well, at least at the start. I don't like to be confined by the machine. If you're sitting in a leg press or a bicep curl, there's no transfer to the real world. It's not very functional, to use the overused term. So the ability to stand up and it's a sport of weight classes. So using this machine with, I call it TRX machine, to use this TRX with your own body weight, essentially, I think is great, because you're like I say, you're standing up for a lot of movements. You're using your core, and that's another overused term, but really you're using your core all the time. And right now, what I'm referring to is, when I say core, is really any muscles or structures that support and stabilize the spine. So I'm not just referring to the abs like a lot of people do, but really all those muscles to help stabilize your spine and help stabilize your whole body, essentially, need to be engaged and turned on when you use a TRX, and that's one thing I really love about it.
Now, do you have a favorite exercise or an exercise that you think would help us a lot for increasing striking ability using the TRX? With the TRX, as far as striking goes, this may not be a typical traditional answer, but when it comes to striking, I like to do a lot of stuff. What I touched on earlier is joint integrity, so shoulder health. Shoulders are obviously play a role in striking. But also the back side of the body. So there's a number of exercises with the TRX that you can do to help strengthen the backside. The backside of the shoulders, the whole backside, the whole posterior chain, really, all the way back down. You know better than I that striking really involves the whole body. From the ground up, you generate your power out of from the ground, out of your foot, all the way up to your trunk and your hips, and generate it into the fist. So having the backside strong, I think, is really important. Especially a lot of people may not really, after you throw that punch, what muscles do you use to get that hand back, to protect yourself? So, and that's the backside muscles, right? So to pull that hand back. So I like to do, when it comes to striking, have the backside strong, just and quick too, to get that hand back as quick as possible. When it comes to more of the skill and the technique, as far as how to throw a punch, things like that, I honestly leave those specifics to those other coaches that I touched on, the striking coach, the boxing coach. As far as technique and stuff, that's definitely out of my realm. But so as far as exercises, I love to keep the shoulder strong. Grip strength is very important, obviously, in striking. So that the ability with using the TRX, you're on all those standing up exercises, whether you're doing a squat or a row or a chest press, push up type of movement, you get your hands on the cradles there or the handles, and you got to have a firm grip. So it translates absolutely to striking into a number of other movements, of course. Okay. So just as we're using it, make sure we're training our posterior chain and getting our lats and everything built up with it.
You said it, yeah, okay. Absolutely, without a doubt, 100%.
Awesome. So now I know TRX will be on this list, but what are some of your favorite training materials or resources, books or DVDs about working out or anything that you would recommend for everybody or anybody?
Absolutely, yeah. As far as like training materials or equipment, TRX is up there for sure. My number one answer is probably our own bodies, to be honest. We have enough some more than others. We have enough weight on our bodies to get a great workout in. With, you know, for some people it's just getting up off the couch, honestly, and going for a walk. For other people, you know, there's push-ups and pull-ups and squats and lunges and sprinting and jumping. And so we have enough here, you know, to get a great workout. And aside from body, yeah, TRX is a great piece. I like to play with all the toys, if you will. So there's a lot of great products out there. I'm not confined to one. You know, I love using tires, like I mentioned, and kettlebells. I'm a big kettlebell guy. I use those often with the guys. But as far as resources, like books and DVDs and things, I have a website myself, and I have my own DVD that I put a lot of time and research into, that I think is great for fighters and for other coaches that are interested, and even for the everyday population. And I mean, I've said this before in interviews and in articles I've written, that, you know, 80-90% of the exercises I do with my professional athletes and with my everyday client, they're going to be similar. Sure, the intensities and maybe the variations are different, but I mean, I do a push-up with champion Dominic Cruz. I also do a push-up with my busy executive. You know, we'll just do a different type. But so all the exercise and stuff, at least, you know, that are in my DVD are can benefit everyone, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So I think that's a great resource. When you first asked the question, the first person I think of, as far as someone I'll say it jokingly, and he knows this, that I've stolen a bunch of stuff from, because he's just a great resource. His name is Martin Rooney, and he's out in the East Coast, and he's another strength coach. But Martin has two books. I think he's working on his third that are, I'm not going to remember the titles of them. Training for Warriors, I believe, is one.
Yeah.
And there's another one out, the Ultimate Warrior
Workouts, I believe.
Yeah. Those are two great resources that are great for anyone new or old to the field that is just a fan of the field, fitness and MMA. They're great stuff, and he's got a website, and he's got a certification program that is quality stuff. So when you ask that question, he's the first person I thought of, absolutely. So I definitely like to mention him. But yeah, so I think that those are a couple of great resources. As far as websites, there's a number of good websites out there. At my website where I post some things, dbstrengths.com, I post articles every week. And the majority of them are on MMA and fighting and things along those lines. But there's a number of everyday population articles and content in there as well. Other websites, oneresult.com is a good one. It's ONEresult.com. That they have a lot of stuff on as far as content goes. They touch a lot on nutrition, which is a huge piece for these fighters and everyday population as well. So that's another good one that people can definitely check out.
You mentioned your DVD, but you didn't mention the name or where we could find it. Definitely on my website, again, dbstrengths.com. The title of it is Strength and Conditioning for the Combat Athlete. It's a 2-DVD set, and it's over 3 hours long, so there's a lot of content on there. Yeah. Like I said, it's put a lot of time into that one. So it really goes through my whole training system, if you will, that I do with the fighters. And what I mean by that is I refer to them as phases or sections of our program, from all the movement prep and dynamic warm-up movements to all of our resistance training to all the number of the flexibility movements we do, and talk about nutrition and weight cutting and proper mindset. And so I try to really make it be all-encompassing and just a great resource for exercises and a lot of variations out there as well. So some good stuff on there. Sounds like it. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
Now, could you share with us some of the best advice any of your mentors have ever given you? Just advice you think everybody needs to know. Yeah.
That we could talk about that for a long time. One of my biggest mentors was my boss for nearly 7 years, Todd Durkin. Todd is a trainer out here in San Diego. He owns Fitness Quest 10, which is a sport performance facility and he trains a number of professional athletes, big in baseball and football, and he's trained the last few Super Bowl MVPs, Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, worked with Damian Tomlinson for a number of years. So he's trained who's who when it comes to NFL. And he's a big quote guy, and I was always given quotes and this and that. And when I worked there, like I said, for almost 7 years, and actually left this year. All in great terms. We still talk all the time, but I wanted to start to develop my own brand. Anyway, he gave me a book when I left. It's a Robin Sharma book, and if no one knows who Robin Sharma is, he's a amazing writer, very motivational guy. He gave me a Robin Sharma book called The Greatness Guide, which I would highly recommend. But in the book, all he wrote in the inside to me was, dare to be great. And I think that hit home for me, because I was really in a transition for me, leaving a secure job, a great job there, to kind of go out and start my own thing. And I was nervous. I was scared. I admit it. And he just said, it was 4 simple words: just dare to be great, and just go for it. So, and that's what I did. And things are going well. So I dared to be great, and I'm not there yet, but I'm on my way. So I think that's a great quote that I think of daily. So.
That's good. It's always a journey. You got to start off and you just keep working.
That's it. You said it. Absolutely.
All right. Well, this is Levi Wampler with MMA Striking Coach. We've been speaking with Doug Balzarini. Make sure to check out his website. What was that?
DBStrength.com. You got it. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you.